Men, there's a conversation you've been avoiding. You know the one with your wife, your father, your son, your friend. You've told yourself you're keeping the peace, but I'm going to tell you the truth today. You're not keeping the peace, you're keeping the pain. And every day you stay silent, the bill gets bigger. Tonight, we settle the account on the hearts of men.
I spent so long thinking I had to fight this by myself. But I can stand here today because y'all stood with me. Because you stood with me.
We got you. Always.
That's right, man.
I ain't alone anymore.
You're not. Good. Stretch. Good.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of the Hearts of Men. We're your hosts of this evening conversation. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and I am joined by my brother Tawami Gaddy, the son of Timothy, also known as the Available Man. Brother, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday evening?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. For the first time in a while, I feel pretty rested. And I'm here talking with my big bro. So, it's about to be lit tonight. I'm ready.
Yeah, man, I'm agreeing with you. I'm excited for this conversation. I had a good week. Got a lot accomplished. Again, more stuff that people are going to see start unfolding. So again, come closer. Don't just stay on. Don't just get close enough to feel it. Just to feel one. Get close so you can feel the fire. So that's what I'm going to say. But like I always say, man, it's an honor to be able to come here every Friday evening, have a conversation with you, and to be able to communicate with the livest chat on social media. So that being said, if you're joining us tonight, make sure that you hit that like button and go ahead and share it on your social media account so everybody can kind of listen to the conversation, because I think it's going to be a good conversation. We're going to talk about something I believe that is very important in our community. And listen, this is a place where we want to give you your flowers now because we appreciate that you are here. You could be any place else, but you chose to be here on this evening, and we do not take that lightly. So that being said, good evening and welcome to this evening's conversation. As always, the rebirth of Nick D. Good to see you and welcome. Miss Crystal Everett. Good to see you. Welcome. His divine appointment. Good to see you and welcome. Miss Robin Brower. As always, good to see you. Welcome. Atlas Keys to Key Realtor. Good to see you and welcome. Yes, it's Maya. I feel like I gotta snap my head every time I say, yes, it's Maya. Good to see you. Good to see you and welcome to this evening's show. Adrian Thomas, good to see you, brother, and welcome to this evening's show. And anybody else out there in the YouTube sphere, Facebook sphere, Instagram sphere, any other sphere out there, LinkedIn as well. Listen, we appreciate you guys being here. Just get in the comment section and let us know that you're here so that we can recognize you by name. Um, Excitement is brewing. A lot of things happening for those of you who've been with us on last Saturday. Had a great conversation during the actual webinar. We got another one scheduled for the 8th. I'm not going to show it to you tonight. I will make it available for you tomorrow morning during the Hearts of Women. So make sure that you show back up. That way you can be get your seat. This one's gonna be free. Not charging anybody anything. So make but at the end of the yes, I know Maya, that was a little sassy. I'm sorry. This one's gonna be free. So make sure that you get your seat because I'm sure they're gonna fill it fast. Um, that said, brother, do I have anything else? Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, as far as I know, I think you hit everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hearts of Women tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, of course, Bible study. TikTok live hosted by I think His Divine Appointment got it this week. So yeah. So without further ado, let me get center screen one more time so we can get rolling. I've already addressed the men, and I want to keep it going because I think it's important for you to hear it. See, we were raised to believe a strong man is a silent man. Don't rock the boat. Let it go. Keep the peace. But what if that silence, the thing we've worn like a badge of maturity, is actually fear in disguise? Conflict avoidance shows up dressed as keeping the peace, but in reality, it leaves the people we love feeling distant, misunderstood, and even unloved. Tonight, the hearts of men are going to prove that avoiding the hard conversation doesn't prevent the pain, it multiplies it. And we've got the voices in the room who are going to tell us, men, exactly what our silence has cost. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, bro, I want to ask, I want to throw a softball at you real quick. Easy question, something I know that is probably already in the minds of the audience. But I kind of just want to lay this one out there before we kind of get into our talking points. Because tonight we're talking about conquering difficult conversations. And in some cases, we also need to understand that avoiding them actually causes more pain than actually being brave enough to have the necessary conversations that we need to have. So I want to ask you, in your opinion, why do you think, well, not why do I think, but what makes a conversation difficult?
So I think any conversation can become difficult depending on who the other party is that we're having a conversation with. If I'm coming to you and I know we're about to have a conversation because you let me take the truck to the gas station and I accidentally hit a pole when I was backing out, that's a hard conversation because I know you're going to be like, okay, but before you put it in my driveway, make sure that didn't go. Figure that out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm joking, but like, I know it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. And so in that sense, what makes that conversation hard is because I know that I'm about to come to you and tell you, I know you trusted me, but I broke that trust by being stupid, not being watchful, did something, and I end up destroying your property. You know what I mean? And so whatever that conversation looks like going after that, for me, because I know that I'm in the wrong, all I can do is sit there and listen to you. No matter how frustrated, how mad I get at what you say or whatever, I have to own that I did exactly what you didn't want me to do. And now I have, so, but I think on the other side, it's a part of it can be a hard conversation simply because I don't know how to handle conflict. And so even if I'm in the wrong or in the right, I get nervous coming into this conversation because I don't know how it's going to turn, which way it's going to go, and I'm not equipped to handle it. If it goes left, I don't know how to bring it back on course. And so I think so for me, I think it's the conversation that we're having, who we're having it with, plays a major role in it for me.
I love your response to this, and I'm agreeing. I like to start inward first and then work my way out. I think one of the things that that can actually make a conversation difficult is number one, the problem that I'm seeing externally really is a problem that's in me. So I'm having a problem with a thing. I want to have a conversation with you, but I haven't resolved in my mind yet that you are guilty of the thing that I see. I know I see a thing, but maybe I am concluding the outcome, but yet it might just be that you're just behaving in a particular way that I'm not necessarily accustomed to. And that does not necessarily make it wrong. I'm just not accustomed to it. Or I may be like, I've seen this, play out before, and I don't like stuff like that. So the internal conflict that might be in me might be creating conflict. Now, Do I really believe that most of us are at that level of awareness to identify that prior to having that conversation? Absolutely not. I really don't think a majority of the people consider that conflict is in them and that conflict in them is creating external conflict. But to your point, I don't have the tools to actually be able to have a difficult conversation. So instead of being brave enough and I mean, I don't know, just kind of like fumbling your way to success, you just choose nothing at all and you choose silence. But then there's another one because the other one could also be that I've seen your emotional response whenever I attempt to have difficult conversations before, and I don't like the emotional response. So instead of having this conversation, I'm going to avoid it because I don't want the emotional response that's going to come, that is probably going to come behind that. So that's just kind of like my thoughts in conjunction with yours because I mean I love what you said because you're absolutely right. Go ahead.
No, I had something to add, but looking through the notes too, I'm like, we probably get there. So I'm a ride. I'm gonna trust the process.
Okay. Yeah, trust the process. Trust the process. Shanitha Burns, good to see you. Welcome. And man, I can write a book on this topic. I know you can, brother. I know you can. Listen, we're about to dive right into it. So the first talking point that I want to point out is avoidance isn't peace, it's fear with better public relations. Now, I believe wholeheartedly that we've dressed up cowardice and actually called it character. I don't want to start anything, sounds mature, but underneath it's fear fear of rejection, fear of losing control, fear of not having the right words to say. A man who avoids the conversation isn't protecting the relationship, he is actually protecting himself. And Nelson Mandela made a famous quote a while ago. He said, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Um, there's also some statistical studies um, coming from Crucial Learning and Vital Smart Survey in 2019 that states that more than 80% of workers are avoiding at least one difficult conversation. One in four has put it off for over 6 months, one in 10 for more than a year, another one in 10 for over 2 years. And that kind of proves a very interesting point. Avoidance isn't rare, it's the default setting. You know, scripture tells us in Proverbs 27:5 that open rebuke is better than secret love. So, my question to you, kind sir, is why do we as men find it easier to call avoidance maturity than to admit its fear?
A couple of things. I think one, we live in an era where we rebrand everything for our comfort, not because of the truth, not because we've evolved in learning. Um, we have learned how to evade accountability as a society, as a whole. And what we do is we shame other people for having opinions so that we never have to walk into the space of accountability. Right. So you can't tell the truth when I know my life does not align with the truth because I've been avoiding the truth in order for people to look at my life and think that it's in alignment because I've rebranded some stuff. And and not to go into details of things, but but we've done it. We've done it with religions. We've done it with culture. We've done it with history. We rebrand whatever makes us look good, and so it becomes easier to do that. So I never have to face accountability, but also it's easier to do so because the moment I admit that it's fear, I become vulnerable. To who? To whoever I'm accountable to in this scenario, whoever I'm in relationship with that calls me to accountability in this matter. Because the moment I say I'm afraid, I've put my emotion on the table and it's like now it's time to deal with it. But that's something that as men, yeah, I would say I don't even want to say uncomfortable. We're conditioned to not be comfortable. with putting our emotions on the table and having to, especially if I'm dealing with another brother, because I definitely can't call another man and tell him, ah, I got problems, I got issues, I need help. What? Negative, because he got his own stuff to worry about. Because he a man, just like I'm a man, and we got to figure our own stuff out. Because that's how we were conditioned.
I love the fact that you said that, the conditioning part. Um, because let's just be honest. We can look back and look at our fathers, our grandfathers, whatever the case may be. We didn't see them expressing emotions like that. We didn't see them open up and say, "Oh, you know what? I have a fear. Like I want to have a conversation with you, but I fear that this, that, and the third." We didn't see that. So it's almost like we have this model that was laid before us that said certain things, and then you have those other sayings, and you guys know the sayings I'm talking about because we talked about them before. Real men don't cry, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, there's a degree of machismo that exists in there to where we feel that we've hit some type of inferiority metric the minute that we admit we have a fear about a thing. So, like you said, I don't want to, go to my brother and admit that I have a fear about a thing. But it's interesting because, I think I've been sharing. I've been watching The Shy, by recommendation of my cousin. And one of the most enlightening things I've seen them do is they created a male group to where they can sit down and be open and vulnerable. And I think that was a very key point in the movie because it created a relationship, at least for four of the brothers that seem to continue to progress throughout the entirety of the show. And I think that's one of the things that we don't do a lot of. We don't say or tell men that it's okay to admit that I fear a particular thing. I fear your emotional backlash or whatever that looks like. I don't think we do that. But I also believe to that point, we think that it makes us weak to do that. So now I've diminished myself, and I dare not diminish myself to my woman and make her, look at me as though I'm weak. So it's like all of that stuff is going in your head, and here's the other side to it, and this is my last one. My long-winded response. We don't live in a world that makes men being vulnerable a popular thing. Now, she can be vulnerable all day long. In fact, there's a lot of talking points about it. There's a lot of shows that talk about it. There's a lot of things that promote it. But the minute that we look at, well, what about us? It's like, nope, nothing. Men just do this, men just do that, so forth and so on. Fathers that come around, you see a Lowe's commercial. You don't see anything that say, tell your dad you love him. You know what I'm saying? None of that stuff. Go get him a tool belt from Lowe's and put him to work. Stuff like
Hey,
that. And I say that jokingly, right? But go ahead.
I was told like this: on Mother's Day, women get things for them to relax and enjoy. On Father's Day, men get things for them to go outside and go to work on.
I mean, I don't see anything error. I don't see no error in that statement based upon what I've seen. And I'm really interested on how some men see that because I think it's important. Like, what would happen if you admit to your significant other or whatever that I have a fear of being honest with you simply because when I do, it's not received properly. I fear that this may hurt the relationship more so than helping the relationship. So that said, I have a question for the people in the comment section. And I'm not asking no woman out there to respond as a man. I am asking them to respond as who they are, respond as a woman. So, what's one conversation we keep telling ourselves we're not ready for? And what are we really afraid will happen if we haven't? Like, be honest. And I know I gave this as a poll question a few weeks back, but I really want the details behind it now. So, if you don't mind, be honest and open and share that. And then I'm gonna put you on deck again because I got a poll question that's coming right behind this one. So I'm gonna leave this on the screen for a hot second. What's one conversation we keep telling ourselves we're not ready for? And what are we really afraid will happen if we have that conversation? Right. So I think you guys, I'm sorry, you about to say something? Oh,
No, I wanted to get on the point you made when you closed out your point
yeah, go ahead.
before you went into this. And for me, it kind of helps kind of with a guide of the conversation's gone so far. Like, it's important that the women that are around us to understand, or women, period, to understand sometimes the man that you're with is not comfortable being vulnerable with you, because as men we go into relationships, whether we decide to walk into it or not, we look and we observe, we look for those, we look for signs that I can trust you with my vulnerability. And when we see a sign, no, she's going to mishandle it, we've already made our decision. And a lot of us make that decision very early on. We make that decision. I'm never going to open up in this relationship. He might have been married 30, 40 years, but he made that decision somewhere along the line because you showed him a sign that he couldn't trust you there. Because for men, that's our last line of defense. Like Coach said earlier, I'm not finna bring myself down here in front of you, because most men, we believe, we could be wrong, women help us out, but we believe that once I diminish my image in front of you, it's never going back up. I'm never getting that respect back. All because I wanted to let you see me. You wanted to see me cry. Ugh. Now you look at me and say he ain't a man. It's-
Now that's a good point. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what Adrian is saying. Adrian Thomas says not only could it not be received properly, but if she's the one that doesn't keep what is discussed private or throw it back in our face when she's upset, that ruins her credibility as a confidant. And that makes a whole lot of sense because let's just be honest. There are some things that we gonna share with you in private, and you gotta like be real. Like some of those things we have not shared with anybody, at least for a very long time. But you've kind of met you're in that space to we feel we can trust you. We can share our deepest, darkest, hidden things with you and open up. But then when we start, bickering, going back and forth, and you actually use that as a weapon against me, that's dangerous territory, man. You may not want to do that. Um, so let's kind of jump on to the poll real quick, and I'm gonna grab some other comments before we jump over into our next talking point. Um, the poll is when a hard conversation is coming, what do you actually do? Now, I want you to be honest with this one. Right, like what do you actually do right now? Do you rehearse it and talk? You do rehearse it and talk myself out of it? Do you go silent and hope it resolves itself? Do you change the subject or make a joke about it? Do you feel it, pray, then talk it out? If you don't mind, I want you to answer according to the number. Number one, rehearse it and talk myself out of it. Number two, go silent and hope it resolves itself. Number three, do you change the subject or make a joke about it? Or number four, do you feel it, pray about it, then talk it out? Okay. And as everybody is answering those questions, let me tell you straight up, I greatly appreciate your responses because, again, it helps us to see across the board, right, how we are collectively. And again, let's be honest and transparent about where we are right now. Okay. As we're doing so, let me jump into point number two, and point number two is all about your silence isn't neutral, it's doing damage. Now, I believe men believe that saying nothing keeps things the same. I'll say it again. I believe most men believe that saying nothing keeps things the same, but really it doesn't. Silence is a decision and it has a body count. Every unspoken frustration becomes distance. Every avoided truth becomes a wall. You think you're holding the peace. You're actually building a prison and putting the people you love inside it. Proverbs 27:6, faithful are the words of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. According to Dr. John Gottman's research on, those things we talked about previously, but specifically right now, stonewalling, which is shutting down and going silent, is one of the four communication patterns so predictive of divorce that he named them the four horsemen. And in his research, 85% of stonewallers are men. I say again, 85% of stonewallers are men. The silence a man calls protective, his wife experiences as abandonment. Ephesians 4:26 says, be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. So that said, Brother Gad, I'm coming back to you with another question. What does our silence say to people we love, even when we think we're saying nothing? And again, I'm asking you to think, right? Think for them in this moment.
In my assumption, because the best that I could do on this one, um, I think it tells them, and I'm gonna answer kind of like two different ways if I can. I'm gonna answer it a little bit like, what are we trying to say when we do it, and then kind of what I believe they're hearing when we do it. Because silence is definitely loud in a home, especially if we're talking about a home. It is very loud, um, and and I think so. As men, when we go silent, what we're saying is, I know that you're wrong, but I know I'm not gonna get no sleep tonight if I tell you you're wrong. We're gonna be up all night arguing. I might get sleep, but I won't get peace. Right? Um, because of that A word that I talked about earlier. Sometimes we both can be evading accountability, right? So that becomes a problematic area to be in because nobody is being truthful. Everybody is trying to dance around, protect their emotions, or claim to protect the emotions of the other person. But you're telling that person, like, hey, I know you want to have this conversation, but I don't want to have this conversation. So you're just going to have to deal with it. And in hindsight, you're telling them you're in this by yourself because it may be a conversation that they actually care about. And you owe it to them as a part of the relationship to have that conversation, to face it head on. You know what I mean? It may, and I was about to go left field and stay on point, but we just got to be mindful of what the topic is too, because for some people, it may be a topic that your wife told you is something that's important to her, and when we drop the ball, now you avoid that conversation. Now I think we start opening up the doors for her to feel alone in a relationship, unheard in a relationship, not cared for. Things of that matter. And for children, it sends their mind through a whirlwind of thoughts. Is my family splitting up? Is my parents getting a divorce? Am I going to be without a father? Am I going to be blah blah blah? All these things that they see going on in the world that they thank God for that they didn't have in their home until it happened. And so we don't think about what it's doing to the children. Because you said to the people we love. So I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I don't disagree with anything you say. Um, I think there's a couple of ways to look at this because I think things have meaning because of the meaning we assign to it. Sometimes the meaning that we assign to it is not the reality of it. It's not the meaning that reality is actually saying that that meaning is. So when we go silent in a conversation or whatever, I believe wholeheartedly that my significant other, my wife, whatever, I believe to her, she believes that I don't want to fight for this relationship. And in my mind, and I can only speak for me, I'm not speaking for Gad, I'm not speaking for Adrian or any other man out there. It's not that I don't want to fight for this relationship. I just don't want to fight you for it. I will fight everything for this relationship. I'm just not going to fight the person I'm in relationship with. So choosing to be silent in that moment may not necessarily be the right thing to do, but it's the safe thing to do. Because sometimes, and I'm saying this because I think it needs to be said. I think we need to hear it. Sometimes you approach me as an adversary, and part of my restraint is not responding to you according to the way that you approached me. So my silence in some cases may be to protect me so that I don't choose the course of action that is irreversible. Again, I think you believe that I won't fight for the relationship, but the key is I'm not going to fight you for it. That's the key. So anytime we look at it, we have to be completely honest and transparent. I also think in some people's mind, my silence means that I'm guilty. I'm gonna say it again. I also believe in some people's mind, my silence means that I'm guilty. Not, no, not, no. I don't, if we're honest and understand how this whole relationship slash marriage thing is, there is no separation of guilt betwixt the two of us. I say that part again. There is no separation of guilt betwixt the two of us. So if I'm guilty, you guilty. If you guilty, I'm guilty because we are one. So when we have this mindset that my silence means that I'm guilty, it's only because in your mind you believe we're two separate individuals. And at that stage of our interaction, you believing that we're two separate individuals, we're already at a loss. So maybe me being silent in that moment might be the best thing for that moment so that cooler heads can prevail. But again, I'm just talking about what I believe it believes to them because I don't know. Now, what does it believe to my children? What does it mean to my children? Me choosing silence with my children means that I don't care enough to talk to them. I don't care enough to understand what's going into them, going on with them. I don't care enough to learn more about what's going on. I think our generation is very guilty of believing that just because I'm the parent, I'm the only one that's doing the teaching. Listen, Linda, let me tell you something. You learn so much as a parent, but when you stop talking to the child, you're failing to learn what's going on not only with the child, but you're also failing to learn you're also failing to learn the lessons that are coming through the child. So I think this question of all, in my opinion, is a very heavy question. And if we as men, because that's who the show is directed at, I'm not going to put the women on stage. If we as men lean into this question and really think about it and consider what does it mean to the other person, take that thought that you came up with and then go to that person and ask them the question. See if their answer coincides with your answer, or see if their answer is going to teach you something about your assumption of their answer. Again, I said a lot, bro. I mean, if you want to come back in, you know.
No, man. You said I'm listening to you and I'm reading the chat, and all I'm thinking in my head is separate but connected. Conversation needs to be had, like real conversation with the men and women. Like we have two podcasts as we choose but like somewhere down the future though, and I'm just putting this out. But what do relationships look like? Just period. You have the male and you have the female, and these elements that we're talking about need to come on the table because as I'm reading and I'm looking and I'm like, they're not wrong about their assumption of what we're thinking or doing when we go silent. But there's usually more to the story. But women don't know that because we go silent. Right. But so and as I'm listening and as I'm reading, I'm just looking like there is definitely a conversation that needs to be had. Yeah. Because I don't believe that we have full understanding, or at least enough. And it's obvious in the world that we live in, the conversations we hear every day, that we don't really understand the other party like we think we do.
Yeah. I wanna start bringing some of those to the floor. Let's start with yes, it's Maya up top, or 2028. Let's start with her comment because I think as we go down these statements, we're gonna learn a lot. Yep, sorry about that. You going silent tells me that how I'm feeling about a thing doesn't matter. You can have your time. Just don't leave me hanging with all of these assumptions. I love that, and I can see that. I can clearly see that, and that kind of goes back to my comment about fighting for us, right? Next is Atlas Keys the Key. When I go silent, it was because I remember the last time I tried to have a conversation, and I decided I take the error and carry it as mine to avoid the stress that comes along with it. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy right there.
But you know what? You said that, because that sounds like the conversations that men have amongst ourselves.
Mhm.
So what you're saying, uh, Lisa, Atlas Keys to Keys Realty, go get your housing if you're in South Carolina, Georgia. But uh, this is a conversation that men usually have amongst ourselves because this is exactly what a lot of us feel when we have conversations in relationships. A lot of time it gets brushed out. We've been taught so often, and I'm just speaking from the male perspective. We've been taught so often, that relationships are about women, right? May not have said those exact same words, but by the nature of everything that they've taught, that's what we're told. So half the time, if the woman ain't gonna fall in line on a certain subject, we just avoid that subject. We just let her have her way. We just go. We be mad. We be angry. As you wonder why your grandma and your grandpa do nothing but argue and cuss each other out. Because for 50, 60 years, been living off of this idea that one party has their way,
Yeah.
and it's hard to live like that. And so I definitely, and I'm not saying that to go against you. I'm saying that, Lisa, to say, like, I get it. So when he said that that's heavy, I think that's why Coach's response like that was that's heavy, is because we usually don't hear that from females. We
Right.
usually hear that from men.
I've mentioned my grandfather several times. I haven't mentioned him in a long time, but I know he used to do this all the time. And in fact, I kind of came up with a thing that I used to say that men don't argue about a thing unless it has to do with respect. Anything else, we just don't, because it's we have this mindset to where we pick and choose our battles. If it has to do with respect, that's a battle that we're gonna put our armor on and fight for all day long. Anything outside of the realm of respect, it ain't. It is what it is. Is it right? No, it's not right. It is not right. That's not how you build a healthy relationship. But I think that's kind of like what we've dwindled ourselves down to for the sake of not necessarily having to go back and forth all the time about certain things. And for somebody who got offended when I heard Gaddy say, get in line, I believe what he is saying. I'm not trying to speak for him. And if I'm saying something wrong, let me know. If I'm having a conversation with you and I'm laying out the facts based upon what actually happened, and you're avoiding the facts and talking about how you feeling. It's not that I'm not saying that what you're feeling is not accurate for you. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that these are the facts. And if these are the facts, then what are we discussing as it pertains to the fact? How you feel about the facts? Well, that's not going to move us forward. Let's talk about the facts and the way to move forward from the facts. I think that's what he meant when he said get in line. Because at the end of the day, we should be at a level of maturity to where we can have effective communication, and it should be easy. It shouldn't be as difficult as we make it. So, yeah, go ahead.
And I'm gonna be quick and shut up because I know we go left a lot when there's two of us sometimes. But 100% everything you just said with a focus in the space of we should be in the same alignment. So when you hear get in line, you hear get in line because I'm trying to stay in the alignment that we agreed that we were on. Every time I hear couples or I think back on my relationships, like half the problem has been because one party feels like they need to live their own separate individual path in life while being connected to another human being. So what, do I just stop living
Hmm.
or do we live together?
Yeah.
Like, where are we going? What's the direction? And so sometimes we get caught on what we want and we go outside of the alignment we set. So yes, get in line. Both of us need to be in line because we made a plan. We need to go after that plan. We need to stick to each other. We need to keep each other accountable. To me, that's as plain as I can say it.
Absolutely. Tune in to Coach's Corner on Tuesday. We're going to talk about alignment. Again, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to talk about alignment. Next is the rebirth of Nick D. She said, you are choosing peace because we don't always listen and want to be the victim. I've seen that. I've witnessed that. I've actually been, a part of that before. It doesn't matter what's going on. That person is being the victim. So everything that's happening, it's happening to them, period. Doesn't matter what we talk about. Next, Adrian Thomas said, could also be that a man is tired of fighting. If the relationship is just one battle after another, sometimes the last thing a man wants to do when he comes home is to fight. Brother, I remember saying that when I was married. Um, Yes, Maya said something else. She said, I appreciate conversations and clarity. If I go silent, it's because I keep repeating myself and am overbeating a dead horse. So yeah, I get that as well. Robin Brower says, I am withdrawing my investment. To the person on the receiving end, silence often feels like emotional abandonment. It says, I am choosing to protect myself rather than work through this with you. Last point, Lisa Atlas, I'm sorry. Atlas Keys to Key Realty says, when I went silent, it was because I remember the last time I tried to have the conversation and I decide I'd take I'd take the error and carry it as mine to avoid the stress that came with it. Listen, I greatly appreciate all of those statements of honesty and transparency. Because again, I think a lot of times we don't know. I think on one side, and I'm saying it this way intentionally, on one side, we know what we think and we know how we're feeling, but I don't think we've ever gotten to the point in, most cases to where we actually ask the other person what happens when. And I think the what happens when drill is a very important one to have, and you'll find that it has the potential to save a lot of marriages that are heading for the trash can. Um, that being said, I do want to okay, got it. I do want to bring up the results of the poll because I appreciate you guys answering those questions. So no one said rehearse it and talk myself out of it. This the second place choice was go silent and hope it resolves itself. I can see that. Third place is change the subject and make a joke. I can definitely see that. And the last one was feel it, pray, then talk it out. Okay.
Hmm. I chose three because I knew everybody was going to choose four. I knew we had some sanctified folk in here, so I was like, let me be the one.
Hey, man, I got it. I got it. I mean, hey, it is what it is. Listen, I greatly appreciate you guys, though. Um, and I think that's important. I think it's important for us to, look these things through and really think about it. Look at how I handle it, and then ask myself, how can I handle it better, and then work towards the betterment of it. So I think the question now sits in the lap of the audience. Where in our lives has keeping the peace quietly turned into keeping our distance? Where in our lives has keeping the peace quietly turned into keeping our distance? Obviously, I think the immediate thought that comes to most people's lives, and this is for you to answer for yourself. I'm not giving you an answer, but I think the immediate thought is my closest personal relationship, my husband, my wife, whatever the case may be. But what about family members? Do we have family members that we choose to keep the peace from? Do we have elders in our family who say whatever comes to mind because that's what we believe is right, right? Big Papa is 70 years old. What I look like correcting Papa, an adult. I'm just saying, you go have the conversation because what you don't necessarily realize, I believe wholeheartedly that one of the most important things that we do in relationships is take risks. If we're not willing to take risks for the sake of the development and elevation of the relationship, then the only other choice that's left with me is stagnation. So, and I think at a certain point something flips. Something has to flip it. And I believe wholeheartedly, regardless of who the person is, whether it's your granddaddy, whether it's your daddy, your grandmama, your mama, your auntie, uncle, whatever that looks like, we actually do believe that silence is neutral. Like it's almost like pressing a pause button, if you will. But there is no pause button on a relationship at all. So whatever it is that you are planting in that relationship, it will grow. If I'm planting silence in that relationship, it will grow. If I'm planting avoidance in that relationship, it will grow. And that's the part that we have to consider and process. When you go silent, the other person doesn't hear peace. They hear rejection. Your wife doesn't think, the husband is keeping the peace. She thinks he doesn't care enough to fight for us. your silence isn't saving a relationship. It's slowly telling them they're not worth the discomfort. I think the same thing exists when we start talking about family members, elders, things of that nature. The conversation that we're not having with them, it's like, oh, well, this relationship is good. At least that's what they're thinking. But in your mind, you know good and well it's not good. In fact, you probably don't spend a whole lot of time around them simply because of that. But I'm going to get off that because I think that's where our generation, kind of mess up because we allow their generation, boomers, to say and do whatever it is they want to say and or do. But then we won't say anything to say, hey, hold on, wait a minute. I'm 52 years old, cuz. And you ain't gonna talk to your auntie or your grandma, call them cuz. I'm 52 years old. I ain't that little boy running around in Pampers no more. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna deal with you in a respectful manner. But I do believe that that goes both ways. I think it's important for us to do that. So absolutely, at work as well. At work as well, we need to have I get it, some very difficult conversations at work. Man, it's almost eight. It's 8:45 already. We got to go. Okay. Talking point number 3. God never called us to avoid. He called us to confront in love. Avoidance isn't just weak, it's disobedient. Jesus didn't say, if your brother sins, trespass against you, if you will, to ignore it, hope it go away. He said to go to that person. He actually said rebuke him, but he said, I'm going to say go to that person. The biblical model of manhood isn't the silent stoic. It's the man courageous enough to speak truth and loving enough to speak it gently. Confrontation done God's way is an act of love. I'm going to say it again. Confrontation done God's way is an act of love. In the book of Ephesians chapter 4, it says, but speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Christ. Proverbs 27 again, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. You find that in Matthew 18, I'm sorry. And then in Proverbs 27, open rebuke is better than secret love. So get him. If the Most High commands us to go directly to the person, why have we made avoidance feel more Christian-like than confrontation?
This is a not normally linked to this conversation, but this is a conversation I have a lot, believe it or not. People always ask me when people say crazy stuff to me, and when I respond, especially when I was at work, people used to always tell me, they wouldn't say it like this, but they'll make this assumption like, oh, I'm just supposed to allow disrespect to continue to be a thing. I'm supposed to allow people to be disrespectful to me or all my staff. I'm not. You can go to another building for that, but we are going to treat you with dignity and respect, but you're going to treat us with the same thing. All right. Because we're giving you a service, and nobody wants to service 300 to 500 soldiers and be disrespected while doing so. Now, with all that said, right, we have this idea. We've made this idea that peace with mankind is the same as the peace given by the Most High. Because I think me and Coach have, I would say at least the last few months, I think we've made the distinction between the two. Because I think we've had this conversation a few times these last few months, at least talking about the peace part, right? So everybody understand, right? What we're looking for as peace is quiet. Like, just 2 seconds, we think that's peace. That's quietness. It's not peace, right? And so in our mind, we've said this is how Christ would want us to behave, to just let people walk all over us. And I ask people every time they say that, I say, show me one verse where Christ was a walkover or pushover. Name one. Don't worry, I'll wait. You can't tell me that the Father was, because you told me he was too mean in the Old Testament. So you know good and well he wasn't a pushover. So you're gonna tell me the man? I keep trying to tell people don't understand that this was premeditated. This man went and braided together some. That's he thought about what he was gonna say when he got back over there. I'm gonna flip this table. I'm gonna kid like because he's the man braided together a whip to go back in there and swing it. You thinking about what you finna do. Where in that scenario do we get the concept that we're just supposed to allow disrespect? We're just supposed to allow things to that's peace. That's not peace. Actually, you're and I'm glad you said it earlier because it leads to me ending up my answer to this one. It leads to chaos. Anything that leads to chaos is not of God. He's not the author of confusion, right? So if it's in chaos, he didn't put it. That's not what he wants for you. So once your mind is going in chaos, your emotions is in chaos. All that means we need to reset and figure out another approach to what we're going to do. Because the only thing that happens from silence is that we continue to feel and fester and create more and more toxicity in our scenario. And there's nothing in scripture that tells me that is in alignment with what Christ wants for us. He don't want you to be a pushover. He wants you to be bold on the truth, right? But I get it. Wise as a serpent, but as gentle as a dove, right? You don't have to be aggressive to stand on what you stand on. But
yeah, I do appreciate that interpretation. I mean, I'm agreeing with you. So I don't want anybody to think that me calling what he said an interpretation is me passively disagreeing. No, not in the least little bit. I agree with everything you said. I also believe that there are some things that work behind the scene to where we believe that confrontation is not Christian-like. I believe that the thing that we constantly see over and over again, the way that we view who Christ is, through the lens in which we view him. We keep seeing the nativity scene, man. We keep seeing the baby in the manger. And it baffles me why we keep, let me say it like this. Why do we celebrate the baby in the manger when it's the lion that I'm supposed to be serving? See, we want to focus on the lamb. Why do we celebrate the baby in the manger, which is in essence the lamb, when it's the lion that I'm supposed to be following? The lion is the king. It's a
Sister Ethel on the back pew heard you.
Say again?
I don't think Sister Ethel on the back pew heard you. You might have to say it one more
time. Try to get me amped up, man. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I think that's part of the issue. Part of the issue is that we're honoring the wrong thing. We're in the wrong season. You're still stuck in the season of oh, he's such a cute little baby. No, he didn't surpass that moment in time. He's in the moment of time right now where the church is being established. He is not looking for you to look at the sacrifice. The sacrifice has already happened. And in most cases, we don't even look at the sacrifice as the sacrifice really is, because the sacrifice as it really is really a grotesque display. We don't necessarily consider the details and the specificities that went into the articulation of the sacrifice. We look at all of the good stuff, the passive stuff, right? But then on the backside, no, that's where the conversation about all of these different things that you are supposed to do are happening. Because what you do is a manifestation of what you believe. Therefore, if I believe that passive aggressiveness and passive interactions is a manifestation of the faith that I say that I have, then what do I have faith in? That is always a question that we have to ask ourselves. But I don't think we want to ask ourselves those questions because we're afraid of what we might discover about ourselves. It's always that, always have been and always will be. And until we see that otherwise, we're going to be like, oh, well, I don't like confrontation. I don't like confrontation. Guess what? You don't have to like it. You're commanded to do it. Just my point. Well, I thought you were about to say something else.
No. I agree. I was going to ask. I wanted to look at a comment. It was Robin made a comment, and it's this comment segues with what you were just saying. Where'd it go?
This one?
No, it was a question. Did I miss it? Was it
Mm.
her? I thought someone put in there a question. What if you choose peace?
That's it. What if you choose peace other than being in a position where you feel that you are not being heard?
Oh, that was Queen. My apologies. I said my apology. Yes. Um, because you're just talking about the blueprint, what it tells us to do in the face of conflict. It tells us to face conflict. In the event in facing conflict, the other person is not receiving what you have to say. Right? When you saying, "Hey, I don't feel heard," and they're not hearing you, that's when it's time to bring a third party to mediate, because that person, we should be hearing each other. Whether I agree or not, I should at least be hearing and listening to. I heard a like a clip of a podcast, or not a podcast, it's someone's TikTok live, I think it was, or maybe you sent it to me, I don't know. Anyway, but the guy was like, he was reading comments, somebody saying, oh, my women don't they don't listen to men, they don't listen to the men, they don't listen to men. And he's like, you married to somebody who don't listen to you? I can't imagine being in a relationship with somebody who don't respect me enough to listen to me. And it goes both ways, right? Because even as the head, I have to understand that the head has an advisor. So we're listening to each other. And I think we have to remember that that's the goal, that we have to bring it back into, like you say, I talk about it on Tuesday, back into proper alignment, but we have to do the right thing. Go get that elder and bring that elder, bring that Dr. Dwyer, bring whoever, the person you comfortable with, to that person. Even if this is a friend that you're having this conversation with, if that friendship is that important, handle it the right way. And let's get that third party. I just wanted to address that.
No,
Thank you.
no, I appreciate that, but I also want to add something to it. You can take the comment down now. I also want to add something to that because, like I said, I always start in before I work my way out, and I think it's also important that I need to understand what is my understanding of being heard. I think sometimes my understanding of being heard has nothing to do with the idea of effective communication. Is that when I'm speaking, I have the expectation for you to do the thing that I am talking to you about. And if you don't do the thing that I'm talking to you about, then I don't feel heard. Well, if that is my interpretation of not being heard, then chances are we walk through a majority of our life not being heard. So I'm not saying that that's not a valid point. I'm just saying that we need to understand within ourselves, what does it mean to be heard? If they respond to what I'm saying, is that not evidence that I was heard? Yes. Then that should be enough without the requirement of more attached to it, because we're having conversation. Effective communication mandates that I respond to what you actually say. The minute that I respond to what you actually say, you was heard. That is all. And so and again, I'm not saying that that's what she meant. I'm just saying for those people out there who started clapping when they seen that question, because in their mind they believe being heard means obey. That's not what being heard is. There has to be an understanding that comes from the conversation. And once we gain that understanding, that should move us to change what we're doing and do things differently. So I just kind of want to add that to it. Time is not on our side tonight, bro. So I think we're at the point where the audience gets their question. What would change in our homes if we saw the hard conversation as an act of obedience instead of a risk to avoid? I add to that. What would change for you if you seen in your home growing up your parents having difficult conversation that did not turn into arguments, that did not turn into fisticuffs, it did not turn into any of those things? They had hard conversations in a manner that proved that they were loving parents. And then the backside of that was an outcome that said that that conversation was fruitful. What would that look like moving forward? So just kind of like want to put that on the table because I think it's important for us to consider the what ifs And then moving beyond that, we can grow moving forward. And as you're considering that, I have another poll for you. Now, I think the Bible, the biblical mandate is fresh. So honesty lands with conviction. So be honest. Why do you really avoid it? I don't want to lose the relationship. I don't want to feel the discomfort. I never learned how to do it well, or none of these. I address it all in love. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Those things. Again, I don't want to lose the relationship. I don't want to feel discomfort. I never learned how to do it well, and none of these. I address it all in love, right? If you would be so kind, put your number in the comment section, please. Okay. Now, as they are doing that, we're going to press on to the next talking point, which is talking point number 4. The bill always comes due with interest. Avoidance feels free today, but it's alone, and the interest is brutal. The conversation you dodge at 40 becomes the estranged child at 55. The frustration you swallow this year becomes the explosion next year. You don't avoid the pain by staying silent. You just finance it and then pay for it years to come. There is a quote by James Baldwin, "As much truth as one can bear," New York Times best-selling book in 1962. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Going back to the Gottman Institute, couples wait an average of 6 years of being unhappy before they get help. 6 years of interest on a conversation that was never had. Again, scripture, Proverbs 23, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Gaddy, my question to you, bro, what is the difference between a conversation that's hard now and a relationship that's destroyed later? And how often do we choose the second by avoiding the first?
My answer to the first one makes the second half very interesting, because my answer to the beginning, which is what's the difference between a conversation that's hard now and a relationship that's destroyed later, and my answer was the decision to have the conversation. That's the difference, is that decision to walk away from that conversation, or that decision to go and have the conversation and face whatever that outcome is. Because this is how I feel about it. I'd rather lose the relationship now by having a hard conversation than waiting 10 years later and we done invested so much more into the relationship. We got kids and all kind of stuff involved, assets involved, and now it's messy trying to sort out that the children and the assets. Like, why do we have to go and have a hearing about how we're going to sort out children? Like, like they're not people. Like we shouldn't be raising them together. Like, that shouldn't be the understood objective, right? But the problem comes in because we get to that point of some of us, and I'm telling you, this is how some people just think. Well, they should know that I have a problem, so I'm not going to them. They should come to me. Well, my mind reader, I don't know. I know you got a problem because you said something. And if you don't say nothing, yeah, I know you got a problem, but I don't know what your problem is. So I'm really not sure what you expect me to do. And to be honest with you, I'm not really the baby was wrong type. I'm the baby, everything okay? Yeah, I'm fine. You right, you fine. Right. You know, saying like, so, but you'll depending on who you are in that relationship, you'll look at them like, oh my God, he really doesn't care. No, I do, but we're not going to be over dramatic.
You got to do that again.
No, we're not going to do that twice. You got to pay for the second time. No, I'm joking. nah, I'm joking. But no, for real though, we do this. We have all these selfish thoughts in our head. I think a lot of it is selfish. Even the fear part is selfish. And so what we tend to do to justify it is we'll blame it on the other party. Well, you should have said something. You knew you could tell something was wrong with me. You can't tell. And I hate this. Let me tell you, there's no precursor that can't say that on you. Yeah, you probably can, but I'm not gonna say. There's no precursor that irritates me more on social media than when I hear a woman say, "If you were a real man, you would." Okay. I wish I had access to everybody's Facebook so I could block you from the world because you're annoying. Like, why? Like, first of all, a real man. How long you been a real man to be able to tell me? Right? And so to say, a real man would know that there's something wrong with his woman. I could turn around, since we telling each other what a real man and woman should be. I turn around with a real woman that told me she had a problem with her, and not expect me to be a mind reader, right? But that now guess what? We're in another argument that's taken away from fixing the issue, and now we're arguing about secondary and tertiary issues that has nothing to do with why we have an attitude in the first place. But I hope I didn't veer too far off.
No. You're good. I'm just curious for people who like to have the real man conversation. What is your metric? And in that metric, where's the differentiator between a real man, not so real man, little boy, whatever? I'm just curious. It's foolish, but anyway, I like this question. What's the difference between a conversation that's hard now and a relationship that's destroyed later? Swallow my pride or face embarrassment. Those are the two things that's on the table. That's it. If I do not swallow my pride now and humble myself and have a difficult conversation right now for the sake of this relationship, we both, not just me, we both are going to face embarrassment later. Both is an outside perspective of reality, right? It's not even the thing that matters. It's my perception of what people are going to say when they look at me. Pride, my perception of how my wife sees me if I humble myself and admit that I am experiencing some type of fear when trying to have conversations with her, so forth and so on. Fast forward, a relationship that's destroyed. Now, all my friends that I was bragging to 5 years ago, tell them I'm so happy. But God sent me my man. Now I got to eat crow. I thought God sent you your man, but if God sent, but I don't understand what happened. So yeah, all of these things are part of that reality. So which one is easier to do? Swallow my pride or face the public shame that comes along with? And again, I'm not saying that the public is so interested in the details of your life that they're going to throw a block party to embarrass you and parade you down the street with a scarlet letter on your forehead because you got divorced. I'm not saying that that's what happens, but at least that's how we feel internally when it actually happens. Which is easy to do? Swallow my pride now or deal with the perception of public humiliation. And in some cases, it might be public humiliation. I think swallowing the pride is easy. Do that. Choose that route all the time. Swallow the pride. And swallowing the pride don't mean I go into the conversation both guns blazing. Okay, we're fixing to do this. No, we ain't doing that. We ain't about to have that conversation. We're going to have a conversation as respectable adults who claim that we are one. Because that's the plight. And here's the funny part about the thing. And Gaddy, I don't think people really think about this. How do two individuals, let's think about it, y'all. Just think about this. What are the requirements for two individuals to become one flesh? The same requirement that Christ had to submit himself to become the king. Mutual sacrifice. That's why I don't believe in compromise. Compromise is a lie. Get it out your vocabulary. No such thing as compromise. One person to give up everything for the other person to be happy. No, it is a mutual sacrifice. You have to sacrifice something. If you're not sacrificing nothing, there's nothing for you to gain. So when you get nothing on the backside, you can't be mad at nobody. What have you ever sacrificed for the sake of that relationship? I went to work. You were going to work before you got married. Take that, put it on the shelf. Your job ain't that important to the murder. Okay. Here's what I know people do. And Gaddy, you can tell me I'm wrong, right? You can like, Coach, I think you've been sipping too much of the lion mane tonight. Um, I think we take personal responsibility and equate it to the relationship. So what do I mean? I went to work. Why did I go to work? So I can pay the bills and keep the lights on. This is what I'm doing for this relationship. No, you're not. That's what you're doing because you're a responsible adult. You going to work so you can pay bills and keep the light. That's called personal responsibility. What you're doing for the sake of the relationship express outwardly, and they become the benefactors of the expression of that thing. Me going to work, there's no outward expression of that. That is called personal responsibility. Stop trying to push personal responsibility as a relationship thing. That is the worst thing that we can. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from and why we keep doing it. I cooked. Did you eat? Yeah. Okay, great. Congratulations. If you didn't eat, then you did it for everybody else. But if you ate, that's part of personal responsibility. Stop looking for a pat on the back for that. I'm just saying. We do it way too many times and we miss the main talking points. The main talking points is where the connection happens. I keep trying to tell y'all can play this game if y'all want to. And I can't speak for women. I'm gonna speak for men. But I'm speaking to women for men. And I'm not the male spokesperson, so every man is not saying what I'm saying. But we can play this game, men. You can play this game if you want to. I'm gonna start with the men first. You can play this game if you want to, and eliminate personal responsibility from your life, and act like you don't have your own personal responsibility as it pertains to the relationship. Do I have to work? Yes. If I don't work, I don't eat. Right? Do I have to work? Yes. Do I pay the bills? Do I pay some of the bills in the house? Yes. So at the end of the day, I'm not looking for a special pat on the back for that, especially based upon how a lot of things are today, because it's generally two people that pays the bills in the house. I'm not looking for a pat on the back for that. I shouldn't expect a pat on the back for that because at the end of the day, it's personal responsibility. So when you ain't working, you sitting on the couch, you playing video games while she at work. I'm just saying. May not be a good look for you, bro. That's all I'm saying. Because there's a lot of dudes out there that actually take responsibility. So when you lose her attention, you can't get mad. Now let's transition on the other side. You can sit there and play the game about, oh, I'm not cooking. I'm not cooking. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it. Personal responsibility. I keep saying, and I ain't trying to be funny, there's always a side chick with a biscuit out there that don't mind putting it on the stove. There you go, bro. Play stupid game, get super prizes. That's it. I'm not joking, and I know some of the things sound funny, but it's the truth. There's always a side chick with a biscuit out there that don't mind putting it on the stove. So don't be mad when he decide he want to go lay his head in her lap because she provide comfort for
him. I know that this wasn't a question, but I think sometimes we have what we want out of relationships, and then we have what we want from our companion, right? And 9 times out of 10, what we want as an outcome of our relationship does not match with who we want as our companion. And so then what we do is we compromise who we choose as our companion to get the outcome we want, and find out later on we're unhappy with who we chose because of what we wanted to choose. And we ended up with someone that we're not happy with. I think that's how we get a lot of these bad mantras. And a lot of women start following and listening to women who are not happy in their homes because and I'm speaking for hopefully people listening to this on the replay, right? Because I'm speaking more so to my generation, right? Now, when I say that, I found out some good news that they created like a sub generation for my generation. Okay. Because they say the same thing I've been saying this whole time. We grew up like Gen X. We just, in our later teenage years, we got the benefits of millennials, right? So, but so they created, I think they call it like Zennials, X millennials, so whatever. Anyway, I just had to put that out there, so I'm connected. Like I said, so y'all can't call me a lie no more.
You good, bro?
Anyway,
You good? You good? Come on. You can come on over. We good. We ain't gonna keep you outside.
but talking to I can come on home good. So, but talking to my generation, right? We've done a disservice because we've created this mindset with our women, right? That they have to live their best life young, and so they spend their young years with all the dudes that they're attracted to. And I'm not saying all women do this, but with the dudes that they're attracted to, curving the dude that's going to give them the life that they want. But the guy they're attracted to is not the guy that's going to give them what they want. And so now after they don't ran the streets, now, oh, it's time for me to take my life serious. So now I got to find somebody that can give me a more serious life. Now you don't like that guy. You miss Tyrone. But Tyrone can't, he's not going to give you life insurance. Health insurance. I'm
No, you're good. You're good. And like I said, and to that point, I'm agreeing with you. And on the other side, a lot of men, you go out looking for the Sir Mix-a-Lot female. Yeah, y'all know the song. You go out looking for the Sir Mix-a-Lot. You're looking for the numbers. She got to be built like this. She got to be, you know what I'm saying? That's what you're looking for. But you're not looking for a person with a good heart. A person who, when you look at Proverbs 31, that person exudes that. You don't want that person. That person may look, no disrespect, because I don't want y'all to take this the wrong way, because I think she is a very beautiful woman. But in your mind, that person looked like Grace Jones. I don't want to deal with her. Well, look at the heart. I think Grace Jones is beautiful. I'm just saying. But I'm just, look at the heart of the person. We're so consumed with the outward appearance that we to your point, we hope the outward appearance is indicative of the inward appearance, but it is not. It is the inward appearance that creates the outward appearance. And it's an interesting thing that if you can find a person with a good heart, don't you know they start looking better from the first day you seen them? Like, man, you was kind of cute before, but man, I don't know what's going on. Like, you using a different kind of skin cream or something, because something doesn't change. Yeah, because you're seeing that person's heart now. And I think that's the key. So I wanted to make sure I painted both pictures, because again, I remember being young. Everybody want to go to the car lot. You want to get the fast car in the car lot and then find out it's a lemon. Then you want to take it back. The car lot don't want to take it back. We got to stop doing that stuff. Okay, let's get back to it, man, because we done veered just a little bit off.
And the more layers you pull back, I'm like, there's more layers to this.
There's more layers to it. There's more layers to it. Yeah, man. Pull the poll back out. Let's see what we had on the poll. Guess what the lame man do, man? I'm trying to tell you.
Man.
All right. Why do you really avoid it? It looks like no one said none of these I address it in love. I appreciate the honesty. 13% said fear of losing a relationship. I can see that. 25% say don't want to feel the discomfort. 63% said never learned how to do it well. We got to let that set in. 63%. If this was the sample of the population, over half of the people that are walking right now don't feel like they never learned how to do it well. Trust me when I tell you, if you had asked me this about 10 years ago, I would have been part of that 63. I probably would have made it 65.5 or something like that. So let that set in. And here's the deal. The poll won't let people give multiple responses. But I really do believe that most people who answered, they had multiple responses. I know I would have had multiple responses.
Yeah.
At one point in time, it was fear of losing a relationship. Number 2, don't want to feel discomfort. And definitely number 3, never learn how to do it well. And I think that would have been the number 1 of all of them. Never learn how to do it well, because I never seen anybody in my family had a honest, healthy conversation that did not turn into an argument or fisticuffs. Be honest with you. Okay, let's press forward, because I want to make sure we get this last point in. I think it's important for us to recognize something. If we don't consider these things across the board, if we don't think deeply into this conversation, if you look at this as just another podcast, it's just spewing information, I think you might allow some stuff to pass you by. I don't want that to happen for you. Right? I do not want that to happen for you. I want you to take hold of these things that we're talking about and listen to it deeply. If you got to, go back and listen to it again. Consider where you are, whether you're in a relationship or not. Consider where you are as it pertains to this. Because I believe wholeheartedly that courage is a muscle, and God already gave you the spirit for it. I say again, courage is a muscle, and God already gave you the spirit for it. See, I think this is the good news. You're not stuck. Avoidance is a learned pattern, which means it can be unlearned as well. Courage isn't a personality type some men are born with. It's a muscle you build one hard conversation at a time. And the man of faith has an advantage. The spirit that is in you is not timid. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind." See, in 2016, Benenson and Rangham, they analyzed competitions across 44 countries. Men were significantly more likely than women to reach out to their opponent after a conflict. Handshakes, pats on the back, embraces. Now, mind you, this is also these men who were 85% more likely to stonewall. So you got to let that set in. Just because he is stonewalling does not mean he doesn't have the capacity to go back, to come back and reach out after conflict. The capacity to make peace after confrontation is already wired in us, right? Romans 12:2, my favorite scripture, you guys know it. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Why is that important? Because I believe the world wants you to be at odds. I believe the world has programmed divorce as a relationship mechanism. That's just my opinion, though. Pay close attention to the information that is being portrayed. They want you to connect at the level of emotions. Join us on August 8th. You'll get the QR code in the morning. That way I can get y'all to show up tomorrow morning. Join us on August 8th, and I'm going to teach you how not to do that. I'm going to say, listen, I spent all day working on this. I'm telling you, I'm going to teach you how not to do it. I'm going to give you a way to actually analyze where you are right now. And then once you decide where you are, plot the course moving forward. And the webinar is free. Show up. It's for you. But again, I'm not giving you the QR code right now. Show up tomorrow morning. You'll get it tomorrow morning on the Hearts of Women. Listen, man, I'm telling you, this is important. Gaddy, my brother from another mother.
Yes, sir.
If courage is a muscle we build rather than a trait we were born with, what's the first rep a man can do this week?
Whew. The first rep. I would say if the first rep, let's make it something that is beneficial, right? What's the first step you need to take on that thing you've been thinking on? You've been making plans in your head to make a step. Most of us do it. Even those of us who live our 9 to 5. I've learned in my lifetime, my short lifespan, that most people that go in their 9 to 5 are thinking about the other things that they could be doing. Thinking about the business they always wanted to start, the career path they always wanted to join. Here's a first good step. What's the first step towards going towards that goal, towards getting that certification, getting that degree, getting whatever? What's that first step? Because after you take that first step, you're going to be standing at the door of the next step. It's kind of how it works, right? When you start accomplishing those small things, right? And I know, listen, this is unconventional because we normally tell you first thing you need to do, you need to, count what man built the house and not first sit it and count the cost, right? Right. So write the plan, write the vision, write the plan. But what's that first step? Are you willing to take it? Can you go sign up for school for that certification while you write out the rest of the plan? Because now that you done stepped out there, your foot is in the mud. Now you got to keep pushing and keep kicking.
I love that. Um, I want to talk to all the brothers who ain't good with words. Listen to me, men. For those of you who are not good with words, for those of you who have gotten to the point to where silence has literally become your staple. You go to work, you come home, you sit on the couch, you ask, "How was your day?" "It was good." "What's wrong?" "Nothing." I'm talking to you, and I want you to lean in close, turn the volume up a little bit, because you got some things you want to say, but in your mind, you're thinking a couple of things. It ain't gonna do me no good to talk about it. She ain't gonna listen to me anyway, or I don't know how to say it. Take all three of those, throw them in the trash. That's the first step. Take every assumption that you made about her and throw it in the trash. And then go to her and say, can we have a conversation, an honest conversation? And then be honest. I may not have the words to say what it is I'm trying to say, but I need for you to listen to me as I'm at least trying to say it. And then you tell me if it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, ask me questions about what it is I'm trying to say so that we can develop this conversation. Because I don't know where it's going. I just know I need to talk, and you're the person I need to talk to. If you would be brave enough to do that, just that alone. You ain't got to have it all planned out in your head because that's what we like to do. We like to. If I do this, if I say this, she gonna say this. If I don't do that, don't do that. Just go to her and say, "Can we talk?" Don't say we need to talk. Those don't ever end well. Can we talk? I need no. Put the baby away. Put the kids. Go to your room. Yeah. Just we ain't talking about no kids right now. Just me and you. Can we talk? I got some stuff in my head that I want to talk with you about. And I may not necessarily have the words to say it honestly and openly in a way that it makes sense, but I'm going to try and I need you to meet me halfway. I don't know no woman on the planet that won't be willing to have that conversation with you. And if you with a woman on this planet that's not willing to have that conversation with you, pack your bags. I'm sorry. I hate to be that blunt when I'm saying it. I think, and ladies in the comment section, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. If you've ever been in a relationship where he just gone stone cold silent, if he came to you with that, would you be willing to sit down and have a conversation? If that's you, put one in the comment section real quick. I want to see this, Gaddy. If you were in that situation, he been silent, all he do is sit down and watch TV and work, and he don't do nothing, and he came home and said, "I want to have an honest conversation with you. I just don't know how. I want us to, you know, talk, and it may not come out the right way, but I need for you to ask me questions based upon what I'm sharing." Would that be a conversation that you're willing to have? One if yes, zero if no. I want to see this. And I say two ones already. Let me see the ones. Okay, there's another one. You say one twice. Let me see some ones or zeros. Ones or zeros. Ones if yes, zeros if no. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, we got 1-0. I'm 100% okay with that. This is what I'm talking about. Make an effort. Do something. Don't just sit there and do the same thing over and over again that hasn't been working. Do something. Make an attempt, an effort. I think most people will meet you at effort. But if there is no effort, then what am I working for? What am I doing? Just my thoughts. Gaddy, you had anything else you want to come on the backside before we get ready to end this evening?
No, you just gotta. I think it's important that we understand in the space of this whole conversation. It's always easier to have the conversation. Think back and listen to everything that was said tonight. And Coach put out some very, very scary data, right? Because the reality is a lot of marriages are already broken. They're just existing because they refuse to have the conversation. So you tell them, what happens if I have the conversation? I lose the relationship now, or I lose it in 10 years. Have the conversation, because the chances are The problem is because you say, well, we had the conversation 10 years later and it just blew up the marriage because all y'all did was fester on your points so much that you were convinced of your point that you can't hear the other person because it's been 10 years you've been holding it. Now it's a stronghold. And it takes more than a conversation to break a stronghold. So, hey, this conversation may get uncomfortable, especially when it's fresh. Right? You may not like her response, but her response is going to tell you a lot about what you need to do next. His response is going to tell you a lot about what you need to do next. Right? And I'm right. I'm not saying leave, right? I'm not saying don't leave. Coach is a little smarter than me. So, listen, coach. All right. But at the minimum, it's time to go to the drawing board and see what direction we're going in and what are we doing. Because if I'm not going to leave, how do we move forward from here if we can't communicate about something that is killing our marriage on the inside? Or destroying, I apologize. Destroying our marriages on the inside. So that's really the only thing because I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of the ones I really hate tough conversations, but that's because I know me.
Yeah.
And if I know you get disrespectful, I don't have a disrespectful level. I said it here. I've been on this podcast 3 years. Y'all know once we get to disrespectful, there's only one other step for me, and I don't never want to see a conversation go that route. You know what I'm saying? All because I'm willing, don't mean I want to.
Right.
So.
No, I love it. I love it. I think those are important, and I think he made a key point. Don't expect that one conversation to close it out and it go from whatever it is now to being like all flowers, gumdrops, and rainbows. No, this is going to be multiple conversations. You've been existing in a callous place for so long that you got to start chipping away at it. So it's best to start chipping away at it now. Chip away at it so that you can clear the line between you and your spouse. That's the important part. Listen, greatly appreciate you guys, wherever you're joining us from. But as always, right around this hour, it takes us to our, bittersweet moment, our final thoughts.
We talked about a lot. I don't think we left a lot on the bones. So my final thoughts are not really going to be long today. But we just have to stick on with that last half of this conversation. Why avoiding them causes more pain. It's kind of the salvistic conversation. One thing I love about the scriptures is sometimes you don't think the answer's there because it don't look like it's written out, but the pattern was left, right? We too often choose temporal comfort over our lasting satisfaction that comes from the Most High, right? If I want him to bless my marriage, my business, whatever relationships I have, if I need him to bless them and keep them together, then I have to do the work. He'll be the glue, but you ever used a glue gun and then got mad because the glue didn't come out? Well, maybe because you didn't press the trigger. Push it down and watch the glue. But we don't want to do the work. We have to do the work. It's going to cause more pain, even if it doesn't end your marriage. You're just going to live through agony through the marriage, live in agony through the business relationship, live in agony going to work every day in frustration because you refuse to have tough conversations that are destroying the fabric of our communities, which is family. That is the foundational piece. If we don't have family, we don't have community, and we let family go by the wayside left and right, whether it's through marriages or even if it's through siblings and aunts and uncles, whatever the case may be, the problem because we don't want to have an honest conversation. Don't just have the conversation, have an honest one, right? Because the honest one is going to not only have me hold the mirror up to the other person, but it's going to allow me to look in the mirror when they hold it up to me as well. And then make the changes.
Yeah. I'm tired. Yeah. I'm tired of seeing our community in shambles. Broken homes, broken marriages, broken children. I'm tired, man. We got to do better. Better is available, but I wonder what our perception of better looks like. Can we keep families together? Can we raise healthy children? Can we can we create strong communities because we have strong family foundation? You know what I'm saying? I'm tired. But this is what I'm called to do. So I'm not going to stop fighting for y'all. I'm not going to stop fighting for us. We are in this together. Have men have the conversation. Stop wasting time. You don't know when your ticket will be punched. Go sit down, look her in the face, and say, I need to talk with you. That's it. It's that simple. Let it happen the way it's supposed to happen, right? Let it be what it is. Be okay with the outcome. If it works, it works. Try. I'm just tired, man. That's it. That is it. That's my final thought. I'm tired. We all need to get to the point of being tired. We need to get to the point of being tired of what we're doing. It's that simple. Listen, I greatly appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Um, as always, man, let the best version of yourself be a blessing to somebody else. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time for the Hearts of Women.